Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah. I'm Code Like a Girl's lead technologist, and I'm coming to you today from Paramount Country where sovereignty has never been ceded. I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. You're watching Coffee and Code, which is our kind of conversational video podcast with some really cool people working in the tech industry today. And today we've got two very special guests. We've got Divya and Azzy with us today. Both coming from Bunnings. So Divya is a delivery lead and Azzy is a software engineer. And I love this. I love that we're chatting today. I personally am trying to upskill myself in some home renovation type of things, as well as software engineering. So no lie, the Bunnings website is very often visited on my web browser and the store as well. So I'm really excited to be chatting to the two of you today. So before we get into it, welcome, and maybe we'll get the two of you to give a little bit of a brief on who you are, what your role is currently, and what sort of technologies or kind of what do you do in your job on a day-to-day. Perhaps Divya, we'll start with yourself.
Sure, Sarah. Thank you. My name is Divya. I am working as a delivery lead at Bunnings Digital. And born and raised in India, did my master's in computer science, both bachelor's and master's, and then worked for 10 years in the US and moved over to the Australia. And I've been working on my project management skills, upskilling myself in all things related to delivery and planning of projects. And this has been a 3-year-long journey. And now I'm working as a delivery lead where I work with a squad. Squad got a bunch of, it's a good mix of developers and testers, QA team analysts, and business analyst with the product owner and delivery. So we all of us plan work together, plan for the sprints, plan for what needs to be done in the next 2 weeks, for the quarter, for the whole year, and then making sure we execute the plans as well. So that's pretty much the gist of what I do at Bunnings.
Great, thank you. And Azzy, how about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Divya. Yeah, I am a software engineer working as senior software engineer in one of those squads Divya was talking about. Originally did my bachelor in software engineering and migrated to Australia. Been working in this industry more than 10 years now. So what I'm doing, I'm developing, working on maintaining the current application we have, which is Bunnings website, and designing new features, being feature lead for new features, and coding sometimes as well. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing.
Thank you for that. And I'm always really interested in how people come to be in their roles in the tech industry, or like how you even came to choose a tech career in the first place. So Azzy, did you always know that you wanted to be a software engineer? Did you plan your way into this space?
I wouldn't say plan. I always wanted to be involved in IT industry. So that's why it was like a black box for me. And I always admired people that understand IT and computers. So I think that's why I chose software engineering when I wanted to go to uni. And probably that's why I ended up to be in the software engineering like industry since then. And honestly, I've been enjoying that probably because I always loved problem solving. And with this career, I think that's the main things we are doing. We're just automating everything. We're solving the problems of people, which is, I think, gives satisfaction to me.
Oh, that's nice to hear. And I certainly do. I think a lot of our community with Code Like a Girl when they're coming into tech for the first time, they do feel that like black box thing that you talked about. Like, this is something that people who are wizards understand. I'll never understand this. But as you say, it's problem solving at the core of it. It's like approaching something logically and approaching problems with experimentation.
True.
Yeah, love
So you
that.
become that logical that you can't really, sometimes when you're talking, everybody says, Bjorn, we know where you're coming from. It's just like you have been now logical, mainly logical. I said, yeah, it needs to make sense, isn't it?
That's right. And so Divya, how about yourself? Did you always know you wanted to work in this space? Did you have a plan for your career? Anything like that?
Yeah, I had a more boring approach. Yeah, growing up, I always wanted to do either math or science. But again, IT was a big trend growing up, and I always wanted to be a software engineer. So I had like a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and then I started off after my master's. I did an internship, and then got a junior engineer, then become a mid, then a senior, then a team lead. So the whole evolution kind of was very organic and planned. Maybe they don't go together, but in my case, they did. And but once I did that for 12 years, I got a physical break due to my child, and that's when I took time out to reflect on, okay, I'm enjoying this, but am I using all my strengths? Are there gaps in my personality which my career is probably not filling? And then I did a whole reassessment, and I did like a SWOT analysis, strengths and weaknesses, and all of that. And then I reached out to my mentor at Bunnings and mentioned that these are the things I've done in the past. This is where I'm interested, and that's how the shift happened from my software engineering to delivery lead.
So you did a SWOT analysis of yourself. Is that what you say?
Yes.
I love that. Can you just explain that a bit more, how you did that? I think that's a great tool for, I guess, any of us who are a bit unsure of what our next moves might be. Yeah.
Sure. I'll decode it just a bit into it. So mostly it was around strengths and weaknesses. And I noticed that growing up as a child, I was good at public speaking or elocutions and debates. And I was the first one to put my hand up and more of a people person. But being in the software industry for so long, I felt like, and even due to COVID, at some point I started stepping back and kind of got into the shelf of, okay, my work, and lost that people connection. And when I did my strengths and weaknesses analysis, I was like, I'm really good with people. I know this is where I enjoy and want to improve on, which I've been massively missing out. So that was a strength that I wanted to take further. And weaknesses was, again, because of all this gap and not having those communications. Sometimes it gets really difficult to explain for me, it was getting difficult to explain what I do to a non-technical person, to break it down to maybe a product owner, or to break down what I do to somebody who is not within the squad. So for all these communications, I thought that I needed that additional stage where I can talk and express myself further, which would, and in turn, make my work add more to my personality, which had kind of stopped after a while. So I looked at the roles, did my own groundwork, and then made a very clear plan again, and took the plan to my mentor and say, what do you think? This is what I think about myself. Do you see this too? What is your feedback, and where can we go from here with this?
Wow, that's a really inspiring story. And I think you mentioned you have a mentor as well. So I think all of these things are so valuable to us when we're trying to grow our career, especially as minorities in an industry. Azzy, I'm keen to know, do you have, in your journey to becoming more of a senior engineer, do you have any formative experiences along the way in terms of your career progression?
I think it happened as Divya mentioned, with the lots of your experience being working in different type of companies. Like I worked in small companies, I worked for mid-level companies, I worked for large companies, and I already worked with the startups. It gave me lots of good experience, which probably ended up to be like a really good position in Bunnings. So that organically will give you a really good vision of how you can progress and what you can achieve. Especially with my recent experience with the startups, it's just was hectic, but at the same time gave me the good vision of what I can achieve if I just push myself a little bit more. So yeah, I wouldn't say that I planned this. I was expecting this to happen. Actually, I'm saying this now, but in the past, sometimes I was just thinking that honestly, with these technologies changing on daily basis, could I ever be senior in this position? Because I get my I'm mastering in one field, and after a couple of years, that's not in the picture anymore. It's gone. Whatever you have worked with, it's changed. The technology has changed. It has evolved. New things is out. So but I guess it comes back. It just doesn't come back to what technology you're working. It comes back to your experience working with different systems, working with different people, working in different teams, and give you the good perspective of like how you can make things better. So yeah, that's probably not planned, but it organically happened.
Cool. Yeah. So you've worked in a number of different types of companies, different sizes, different industries. I think that's really good advice as well. You know, the tech space is relatively new compared to other professions, compared to like the medical or the legal profession, where there are really clear steps you can follow. And like clear understandings of where to go next. But I love what you said as well about being worried about, you know, will I ever become a senior engineer? Because as soon I feel like I'm going through this right now, like I'm trying to get up to scratch with like the latest JavaScript technologies and just kind of in the weeds of it all. But I think it's a good reminder that like it's not about actually knowing the technology, right? It's about knowing how to approach it, knowing the process of learning it.
Yeah, and you have seen different systems, so it's not about how you implement things, like what technology you use to implement things. It's about how you implement things. So you still can give advice that I think that's the better approach. I might not be good at details, how to do it, but I can see that there's a benefit in this way rather than the other one. So yeah.
Love that. Yeah, that's great. I want to come back to Divya. You mentioned that you took some time off of working because you took maternity leave, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's something for women that we can get quite nervous about, because that's sort of a gap in your resume that I don't know, like if companies really appreciate like full-time caregiver for like X amount of years when you're a software engineer. What was that like for you? What was your experience of that?
Sure. And firstly, everything you said plus 10, right? Like maternity leave is 2 roles and not just one. It should be like an upskill. You should consider that an upskill to one's personality. So reflecting back on the mat leave, any mom would get that. Luckily, I was moving countries, so I had a bigger break. I was moving over from the US over here. And it was a no-brainer. My child needed me for something, and it was more on a personal level, and I had to stay home for her. Took the break. The break was longer than I initially planned for. I had to take care of the daughter, and while I was giving it everything, I was not happy because I wanted to learn. There was a career path which kind of took a break, and then I didn't know what was in store for me, what would be my new role, and how I didn't have like a yearly plan, which I had all until then. And so I kept learning, and during that break is when I upskill myself in a couple of things that I always wanted to learn. I did my AWS associate architect certificate, which at that point I had not done even beginner, but I wanted to challenge myself to see if my brain capacity was on par. So I took the leap of faith, prepared for 3 months, and then gave that test. And I was happy with the outcome. And I was like, okay, maybe I could do more. So every 6 months, I would do a new certification and then keep upskilling myself while I was watching the child. And as soon as the market opened up and when I was ready, in 2 weeks, I was placed at Bunnings.
Wow. After you like finished maternity leave, you got the job at Bunnings after that?
It was that 2-year break.
Yeah.
After that 2-year break I took, yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's very cool to hear you talk about your, taking certifications and whatnot when you were on maternity leave. We do hear from a lot of mums who, or, parents who are either looking to take the next step or looking to change careers completely. And are wanting to take on courses and certifications. So it's really cool to hear that you did that. You were able to do that. Yeah, I took maternity leave myself last year, I think, and that it is nerve-wracking of like, I'm going to come back and forget everything, and I'm going to need to like re-skill myself. But yeah, I don't know. I think I can relate to that like resolve you have when you're like, you become a parent and you learn all these new skills. You're like, I can learn anything. I learned how to look after a baby that didn't come with an instruction manual. I can learn a new framework. Yeah.
And another quick thing I wanted to mention there, Sarah, was while you're raising a child, though it's a physical break from the regular work culture, I learned a couple of things around empathy, respecting everybody's opinion, respecting other person's time. Like the child can wake up and sleep anytime, and I have to plan my work around her. And so there were a lot of things which I did not learn while I was working continuously, but I did learn, and those traits do help me in my current role today. Empathy, mutual respect, and time management, and all of this is something that has greatly improved during the break. So though you're physically resting, you're never stop learning. That's something you're constantly upskilling.
Yeah, I love that. And you can bring skills in from anywhere. I mean, this is the thing about the work we do is like, yes, you need the logic and the problem solving and whatnot, but from all your life experiences, it doesn't matter what industry or where you've come from, you're going to bring different perspectives. I'd love to hear more about you, both of your experiences with both of you have migrated to Australia and found work, at new companies here in Australia. Perhaps Azzy, we'll start with you. What's been your experience of adjusting into a new culture, both broadly speaking and in the workplace? What's that been like?
Honestly, at the beginning, it wasn't pleasant. Everybody, when you come here, they're asking for local experience, which how you're supposed to have local experience when you haven't lived here. So it was always in my mind, why you are asking for local experience? I'm migrant. I haven't worked here. But yeah, I found a good course at the time, which actually was preparing migrants for the work environment in Australia. And as part of that course, we had, I think, 6 weeks internship in a company. So we could go there to get familiar with the environment and the culture and see how things are working here. And even for your language, English was my second language. I was still learning when I came here. Honestly, I couldn't understand what people are talking about when I was on the phone Or so I used to go out to the shopping center, talk to everybody, all the shops, to just get used to the accent and see how should I talk, basically. So yeah, that program really helped me to actually go to the company, and that company kept me. Although that wasn't my previous experience. So I think that puts me a little bit back in my career doing that way, because I just wanted to have experience. I just wanted to work. I didn't really care what it was. But after that experience, I tell everybody, please don't do that, because you need to be patient. I did that because, yeah, I mentioned I was desperate. I just wanted to go to work, but I had to start something which was really old-fashioned, out of date, and company couldn't find someone to work on, and I accepted to do that. But go ahead with what actually you are interested about. What's your experience? Because that's won't really put you back in your career development. I think the situation is a bit better these days, because I think there's more demand and less people who have the good maybe experience. But yeah, that was my experience with being a migrant here.
Mm. And how long have you been in this role at Bunnings? Or been working at Bunnings, sorry?
It's almost 2 years. It will be 2 years in July this year.
And what's your experience now coming from a different cultural background?
I'm really looking forward to go to work these days. And I wasn't like that before, which makes it clear to me that, yeah, definitely better culture here.
That's good.
People growth, it's been, yeah, it's something that it's always been, not always, to be honest, not all the companies doing this, but people growth is something that companies care about, and they will help you if you want to have a growth. Especially Bunnings, I really experienced that they're helping you. There are plans in place to help you to grow in your career, and the mentoring is there, the learning opportunities is there, there are budget for your learning. So not that I found all these advantage in all other companies, but yeah, Bunnings is definitely I'm finding that's really interesting, and really looking forward to work in Bunnings.
Yeah, that's a good sign, isn't it, when you look forward to going to work? And
Exactly.
yeah, I think you mentioned some really good things for people to look out for if they're looking for, looking at a company to choose to work for, because it's two-way street, right? You want to get a job at a company, but a company also wants to hire you as a great employee. Yeah, I mean, I've got experiences working in startup as well, and startups often don't have HR departments, and that can be like terrifying.
You're putting different hats on when you are in a startup. It's not like you are software engineer, just software engineer. You could be a QA, you could be software engineer, you could be analyst, or you could be like anything. You could be customer support.
Tech support,
you need to be on
customer
call.
service, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but at the same time, it's a good experience. It's enhanced you with lots of like different type of experience.
Yeah, absolutely. The kind of craziness of startup world really upskills you really quickly, and I think gives you perspective on different facets of how a tech company works, that you might not if you're just in the engineering team. Yeah. So Divya, I'll throw it over to you in terms of what's we're keen to know of your experience migrating and settling into your new work here. So you took maternity leave, and then has Bunnings been your first work in Australia?
First
wow.
work in Australia, yes.
Yeah.
So I've migrated twice, one from India to US and from US to here. So as a student, when I migrated from India, it was more about trying to understand the culture there. And so the process I followed was reaching out to the like on the website in the about me, you'd find all the professors that you're going to work with, list them out, send them emails, and ask them for any names of any other students who they can suggest with whom we can have a conversation. Like other sources could really be not so reliable, but if it goes through the professor, then they suggest you the names and then you can connect with them. You can choose one from your culture, one out of the culture, and ask the same questions and see and assess what fits you, and then make a firm decision as to which college you want to go, how you want to live there, and then make a plan around that. That's for students who are trying to migrate. And when I migrated from the US, it was a family decision. So it was not all about myself. So I wanted to find a country which had a good healthcare, had good schools, and focused on all-round development and not just education. So I was on a lookout for that. And when the migration happened, I wanted to have a visa where I could go and work straight away, and did not want to have like a work visa where it might expire, then you might have to uh, renew it, and then each visa for one for your family, like one for your husband, one for you, and all of that chaos is what I thought I didn't need. So I applied for a PR, gave the exams from US, and made sure the whole PR process came through. And once the PR happened, I came straight on that. So a little bit of planning and adjustment ahead. Uh, so once I moved to Australia, the migration was just smooth and no issues. And I've got each of the box I had on my list ticked, and I'm very happy being in Australia. And especially as he mentioned, there's not much I can add to what she's already said. Extremely happy to work in Bunnings. They make sure you're taken care of.
That's lovely to hear. That's really nice to hear. Okay, this has been a really cool conversation. I've personally taken a few things from it. Just love to finish up on maybe just a piece of advice that you might give to yourself when you were starting out, or think about some of our Code Like a Girl community are people who are wanting to start a career in tech but are like, I don't know where to start or what to do. If it helps you to frame it, to think of yourself when you were starting out. Divya, do you have any advice you'd give?
Just doing some quick thinking here, but the only advice I think I would like to give my younger self is to be more fearless. I've reached where I wanted to be with the fearlessness now, but at the initial phases of my career, when you get into that imposter syndrome, when you're just starting out, I was very hesitant to suggest or propose anything. I was mostly just absorbing, and I did have great ideas, which I really feel bad for not having spoken back then, because back then probably would have been the coolest idea on the block. I just didn't speak. So yeah, just to be more fearless as a starter. There's nothing you're going to lose. If even the idea doesn't float, you'll at least know what everybody else thinks about it, and if there is a better way to go about it. So always speak your mind.
Yeah, I love that. The worst that can happen is someone says, no, that doesn't work. We're not going to do that. And then you move on.
That's just great. Fine, right?
That's fine, yeah. But you never know what gold might come out of that. I love that. Azzy, how about yourself? Piece of advice?
I guess if anybody decided to go to tech industry, you need to be prepared to always be in learning process, and it's always there. The things you're doing, there isn't any manual part, step by step what to do. You need to think out of the box. You need to sometimes do something that no one else has done before. So you need to be inventor. as well. But at the same time, it's rewarding. It's a rewarding field. At the end of the day, I think you feel like you solve the problem for an issue which was annoying maybe a group of people, and it gives you the satisfaction, I believe. But yeah, be prepared. It's just there are always new things to learn in this industry. So that's one thing you need to keep in your mind.
Forever learning. Yeah, absolutely. And just the resilience to push through problems and keep upskilling. Love that.
Keep upskilling, keep thinking, be innovative. As I mentioned, there's a step-by-step guide for some works that you're going to do. You're going to invent a new way, a new code. It's just out of your mind.
That's it. And every company, every organization has different needs that you need to apply technologies to. So yeah, you're always going to be coming up with something that's slightly new and slightly different. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And what was actually surprising in the way for me was that it's not what you're doing. It's the company that you're working for as well. It's the people around you as well that will actually make you wake up in the morning and go to the work, and eager to go to the work. It's just like if you're working on something that you like, but people around you or the company is not treating you very well, that would be end of it. You wouldn't know what you're doing. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind. Choose the companies with open eyes. Do your research and then go for it.
Fantastic. This has been great chatting to you both today. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Bunnings. As one of the people on the end of the products that you've been working on, it does genuinely improve my life. I just this year ripped out like an old garden in my backyard, like an old cottage garden, and I wanted to build like a sensory garden for my little son, my toddler. And I thought, I want to grow a lawn. I've never grown a lawn before. And using the website, the Bunnings website, I went step by step on like
DIY.
I watched the video. I like figured out what products I need. I ordered it all, and I've gone from like having this patch of dirt to now I've got like beautiful lush grass growing. So success story.
Any feedbacks, let us know. Any feedbacks then. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I love it. I have to send you some pictures of my grass.
Definitely. We will. I think we can upload it in DIY section of the website.
Amazing. I can be a DIY queen.
Just send it to us.
Yay. Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for this chat today. And really appreciate you sharing your time with us and your experiences with our community. Right. We'll see you later. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. See ya. Bye-bye.